Hi, welcome to the video. I'm Sleepless Skies, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 things that I wish I'd known when I started out producing. I've been producing for about 5 years, and in that time, I've made a ton of mistakes. I've learned a load of things that are really important the hard way, and I'm going to be giving you the 5 things that I wish I'd known when I started out 5 years ago that would have sped up my progress no end. And make sure that you listen right to the end, because I've got a 6th bonus one that is maybe a bit unusual and not quite what you would expect. That one's worth listening for. So without further ado, let's get into the video. And number 1 is learn your stock plugins, learn your DAW, learn the plugins that come with it. I use Ableton, and for years and years, actually, I overlooked a lot of the plugins in Ableton because I thought that in order to be a really great producer, I needed really expensive, fancy plugins that came from all these kind of amazing ads that you see on Black Friday. And I went out and spent a load of money on stuff that actually, now when I producing today, I don't use half of it because stock plugins are great. In Ableton, at least, I know the stock plugins inside out. There are some amazing effects modules in there like Saturator and Roar. The hybrid reverb is really cool in Ableton 12. Like, these plugins are great, and you can do most of what you need to do using stock. I'm not saying you shouldn't use third-party plugins. There are many that are great. I use a ton of them in my production, and I will do a video at some point or other on what my favorite third-party plugins are. But my number 1 thing I'll say to you today is, when you get your DAW, when you get your copy of Ableton or Logic or Pro Tools or whatever it is you're using, learn it inside out before you buy anything, and it will set you up so much, because those stock plugins, remember, are really CPU effective. They don't drag your project down, using up a lot of CPU, so it'll be easier, lighter on your computer, and you'll just find it's much easier for your workflow if you can use those plugins and get to know them really well. Number 2, get a mentor. I struggled on my own as a producer for such a long time. I didn't have anyone to teach me or guide me. I just looked at YouTube videos like this one, and I hoped for the best. I hoped that I would somehow learn all the tips and tricks and put them all together on my own in my Ableton project. And frankly, you know, that can get you so far. Like, I definitely became a better producer for looking at all these different videos, and there's been so many YouTubers who've massively helped me on my journey to becoming a better producer. But there is nothing that is like having someone listen to your music critically and give you really, really good feedback on what's working and what isn't and how you can fix it. Nothing beats that. I actually joined up to the Marksman Music Academy program. I had Johnny Marksman mentor me. He's still my mentor to this day. We've worked on tracks together. I've released on his label. Like, the opportunities have opened up to me as part of becoming part of his mentoring program, but also his community, which I'll talk about in a second. I would say get a mentor and do it fast. There's a link actually to Marksman's Music Academy in this. It's not sponsored. I'm not getting anything for it. There's no affiliate fee. I just want to recommend mentoring and mentorship. My advice is find someone who, like, you get on with and that you form a connection with, and that you know you're going to get some of their time, where they're actually going to invest time in you as an artist and help build up your career, not just in terms of your music production, but also in terms of your profile as an artist, your brand, the connections you're making in the industry, how you're getting onto labels. All of that matters so much, how you're promoting your music. Find someone who's going to help you with all of it. And that leads me to number 3 in this list, which is get a community. So, as well as having an amazing mentor, being part of a community is so important as a music producer. Again, like I say, I struggled on my own for such a long time, and I just felt like I was doing it alone. Like, producing can be quite a lonely business. You're in the studio for long periods of time. You don't always know if what you're doing is any good or not, particularly when you start out. You just hit a wall and you're like, how can I not make this better? Why doesn't it sound like my favorite artist? And if you're doing this on your own, that can be really tough and really daunting. Finding your way into a community of producers, that has helped me so much. I share my music with other producers. I've worked on collaborations with them. I've learned so much from working with other producers and releasing records with them. And what you find is that as you become part of that community, you can give something back to that community too. You can help others. You can bring people on your journey with you, and that will help them on their journey. So I would say find a community. There are tons of really good communities now that I'm part of. Marksman's Music Academy has a huge community on School. There'll be a link to that in this description of this video, but also there's some great Discord groups. Sakura run a really nice one. Bound to Divide runs a really nice one. Enhance run a really nice one. So you can get on there and meet other producers. And I know loads of people who've hooked up really good collabs, even had releases by being active in those communities. So seek out some good communities and have other producers give you energy and help you on the journey. Number 4 is one that's going to sound a bit weird, but I wish I'd done this more sooner, and that is copy other artists. You know, when you start out producing, you always have this idea that you have to be unique, that if you don't have your unique sound, then you'll never be signed by a big label because you'll just sound like someone else. And so you want to start creating this unique sound. And I guarantee you, when you begin, that will be terrible. It will just be really bad because it'll be like all the ideas you've ever had all thrown together in one track. You won't sound like a genre. It won't sound like it fits anywhere. Actually, big labels really struggle to sign that kind of music. What big labels want is stuff that feels like it's an extension of a lot of the music they're already releasing. Or if you are really, really mature and you've developed your sound over a long period of time and you've really started to fine tune something amazing, they'll be looking for artists like that too, of course. But there's so many big labels that just want something that feels like it's part of their broader label identity. And you can help yourself get there by copying other better artists. Find people in your genre. Like I make melodic house. I found people in my genre that I just loved, and I tried to recreate their music. People like Ben Bomer, who I just think is an incredible producer, and I've put his tracks into Ableton and I've been like, right, let's listen for the sounds he's using, let's listen for the drums he's using. It's not what you think. Listen closely. Try and recreate textures and synth patches and all the things that they're doing in their music, to the point at which you can barely tell your version from their version. You will find that by doing that, you become such a better producer. You're just really listening closely for the details that make your genre your genre. But also, you'll have developed a whole load of sounds which you can start to use in other ways in other tracks. It doesn't have to sound exactly like Ben Bomer or whoever your favorite artist is. By recreating those sounds and then using them in your own way, you can start to develop your bank of really great sounds that you want to bring into your own music. And your sound will eventually emerge over time. There'll be just something that comes out when you make music, and that will be your sound. Just make a lot of music and it will emerge. So number 5 on this list is build your own playlist. If you're interested in getting streams, and I know not everyone is, but if you're interested in reaching an audience and getting streams, Spotify is an amazing place to do it. Yes, there's lots of issues with how much they pay artists and everything else, but the reality of it is most of the world's listening population is on Spotify. If you want to reach people, Spotify is a great place to do it. I started building my own Spotify playlist 3 or 4 years ago, and at first I just built it organically and it was growing really slowly and it wasn't really going anywhere. And then I started putting a little bit of money, a little bit of investment, using some ads to grow my playlist. It's not a huge amount of money every month, and it just adds a steady stream of new listeners to my playlist. Now my playlist is at like 4,000 people. It's getting hundreds and hundreds of streams every week. And what that means that every time I put a record out, it goes straight onto my Spotify playlist, and my Spotify playlist is already boosting the number of streams that my releases get. That actually looks really good for me as an artist because the labels love that. But it also means that I can start pitching my playlist to other artists to feature on my playlist. And I'm doing that through Submit Hub. So now I have a Submit Hub profile and I have artists who want to be on my playlist because it's really big and really thriving. And those artists then pay me for that pleasure. So now I've got a little business going, and actually I'm at the point where my Submit Hub submissions are now paying for the amount of ads that I'm spending. So it's costing me nothing to run it. And this just means that I'm getting traction every time I make a release. I'm always getting plays. I'm not being ignored by the algorithm. It's such a good investment to build up that playlist. Even have more than one if you can afford it, because you might have different playlists for different genres, for different types of music, all sorts of things. But building that up is a really worthwhile investment, and will just get the ball rolling on every release that you make on Spotify. And finally, a little bonus tip for you. And actually, this is the one that probably changed my whole mentality as a producer more than anything else. And that is, in order to make good music, you have to make a lot of really bad music. You have to accept that making bad music is actually part of the process. It doesn't make you a bad producer or a bad musician. It doesn't mean you failed. It just is part of the process of making good stuff. I have probably 150, 200, maybe 300 ideas, tracks that never went anywhere, just little things sitting on my hard drive that will never see the light of day. They're just never going to be good enough. And I never think about them. I make them, I throw them away. I never think about them again. It's all part of the process. Of that massive hundreds and hundreds of ideas, maybe 20, 30, maybe they're the ones that make it. Maybe even less than that. It doesn't matter. What matters is you get to some music that you're proud of, even if you have to create a lot of terrible stuff along the way. And you know what? That also stands for your final output as well. Like, the finished work you do at the start of your musical journey will be so much different every year. Like, it will get better and better and better. And you'll look back at that early stuff and you'll be thinking, oh God, what was I doing? But that's okay. That's also part of progress. The best track you ever make will be the next one and the next one. And that's exactly the way it should be. That's part of the creative process. So when I learned to just go easy on myself and just every time I made a bad track or came up with an idea that was terrible, instead of going, oh God, I'm awful at this, I would say, that's another one down. That's another part of the process. That's another step closer to a really, really good piece of music. And that mindset shift just completely changed my mentality. And it's really helped me be more and more creative. Just produce. Make as much as you can. It's about quantity, because from quantity, a little bit of quality will come. So that's it. They're the 5 things, well, 6 things that I wish I'd known when I started out producing that would have helped me a lot. If you want any links or any connections to anything that I've mentioned in this video, a lot of that will be in the description, or of course, reach out to me. I always love to hear from people. I'll put a contact link in the description, and I hope that was helpful, and I will see you again soon.